Ah yes, welcome everyone to something I decided to do as a way of getting me motivated to do more videos and provide some worthwhile content to the channel. And what better way than bitching about a show that I still watch for some reason? A few things to get out of the way first. These reviews will likely be a week behind the actual show after the next episode, mainly because that's when my first subscription ends and I won't be using Rooster Teeth's website ever again for reasons I won't go into here. From now on, I'm sailing those high seas. Our episode begins with Cinder recalling a bit of her past, and I will admit, removed from everything, it's a pretty solid scene, especially how the scrubbing matches the pace of Cinder's claws on the seat, giving a contrast to who she was then and who she is now. Unfortunately, this is Cinder, and once we add the years of nuclear-tism, it's too little too late. This character is a meme for how retarded she is. So they head to the whale, and why the fuck aren't the Grimm swarming the ship? Last I checked, she didn't contact Salem to tell her where she was or what she was doing. If I missed anything, let me know, but from what I remember and skimmed through, she never contacted Salem once. And no one tell me because they don't feel any negative emotions. Neo here is clearly feeling anxiety or a little fear. We also know that they attack people even if they're not feeling any negative emotions, so why the fuck aren't they tearing the ship to pieces? Then we see, oh God, fucking landing docks made out of bone in the giant Grimm whale. I understand having ports for said Grimm to enter and exit, but why have actual landing docks? It's not a huge issue, mind you, not really even a nitpick, I just find it stupid. I do, however, like the idea of the whale itself being a massive airship, and the design of the interior is pretty neat too. Salem then vomits out some clunky exposition.
When I chose you as my vessel for the maidens, I put my trust in you.
Before Cinder gives her the McMuffin, then Tyrion comes out and rips both Cinder and the scenery apart like a perfectly cooked steak. I love it.
Outsmarting the general speaks less to your intellect and more to his. After all, you were outsmarted by those children first.
Yes. Yes, eat it all. Then Neo gets pissy because Cinder calls her an asset. Why? The whole idea of you two working together was so that you could get revenge on RWBY. There's literally nothing about you two that would suggest anything other than a mutual interest. This is clearly set up for a Neo face turn, which I'm sure many people will love. Personally, I never gave much of a shit about Neo since she's a prop, not a character. Emerald, Mercury, and Hazel arrive, and holy sweet Arceus, Hazel's design is hideous. He's a bandolier and ear accessory away from being a rejected Youngblood character. Emerald looks like a soccer mom trying to look hip, and it just looks gaudy. Mercury looks cool though, clearly ready to slice some pussy. Emerald is happy to see Cinder.
Everything was going fine. Ugh! Do not mistake your place.
Okay. But Cinder tells her to be silent, thought.
So devoted to someone so incompetent.
Tyrion is my rock, my spirit animal, the voice of the people. Anywho, Salem tells Cinder to not go after the maiden powers, and doesn't explain to her lackey that has a past of not going with her plan why. She simply says it's not her game to win, so obviously Cinder is going to betray Salem now. If she said that Cinder has the collective intelligence of a rotting pile of hagfish meat, I'd certainly see the logic, but nothing. You really are a fucking idiot, aren't you, Salem? I can't wait for why she didn't bring her giant whale destroyer to begin with to not be explained. Then we cut to Oscar in the slums, and look, it's filled with faunus. See? Faunus racism isn't a complete farce of an idea. I'd ask how Oscar got here, but we did see where he landed last season, and it kinda looks like the slums, or at the very least near them, so there is enough to infer. However, what doesn't make sense is how in the flying flaming fuckadoodle did the Moronics find him? If I give a generous time frame of 6 hours, let's say, the Moronics would have had to have met up with Robin's band of retards, converse with them about what happened, and that they need to find Oscar. Then they searched the entire city to narrow down his location, possibly hundreds of buildings and locations, and they just so happened to find Oscar in that short period of time. Fucking hell. Also, I thought the idea of leaving Oscar alone was that he'd have to survive on his own and possibly make up with Oz, but apparently I was giving this anal discharge of a script more credit than it deserved. Why waste our time with this when you could have just had him be picked up at the end of last season? Why are you burning shit in the streets to stay warm? You have power in your homes. Do heaters not exist? Electric blankets, insulated walls, wood stoves, centralized heating? I refuse to believe that none of these things exist and that the only way for people to stay warm is to burn shit in the street. Fuck off. The Moronics return to TISM HQ.
How did you end up down in the slums?
It's a long story.
A good question. For another time.
And Oscar decides to not tell the others that Oz is back. Because lying has never blown up in your faces, right?
Don't have one.
In a train crash, and ever since, well, suddenly Oz wasn't there anymore. But all the questions were used up already.
A new communications tower. He's trying to help everyone.
I thought you said we could keep it.
That was before you lied to me about the lamp. Before you lied to us about Robin. To you, Mr. General.
No one learns anything in this heap, do they?
Isn't it all pointless?
It's one big loop of stupidity, but the cherry on top of it is the plan. They're going to gather everyone under Atlas to keep them warm, even though it isn't safe by their own admission. So not only do Holmes and Mansell not have individualized heating, but the big plan is to gather all these scared citizens into one area while the biggest Grim horde in recorded history is directly over Atlas, and Grim are funneling in through the giant hole in the wall. I get it from a meta perspective that the plan is going to blow up in their face and that's the point, but fucking hell is the plan retarded. And then they start arguing about saving Mantle and getting Amity up. I wonder where I've heard this before. Yang is about to confront Ruby about her lying to James when Ren cuts them off, because holding Ruby accountable to her actions would make her look bad, and we can't have that. I also love how it's Yang of all people doing it when just last season she and Blake went behind James's back and leaked the plan to Robin. Fucking hypocrite. But that's to be expected of Yang, I guess. But just as we're about to get at least some kind of real divide, Jean says they could do both, which if they pull off will just make Volume 7's dilemma fucking pointless. Oh, and Nora and Ren might be having issues or something. I really don't care since RWBY have given me no reason to. Also, I swear to Dialga that if they lose in the end, it's because they were divided. I'm going to fucking laugh. James then calls Penny, saying that he wants to help her and keep her safe. Makes sense. Then RWBY tells him to help them save Mantle. He then retorts her.
Remnant is doomed. Unless we leave, Salem will destroy Atlas, and with it, any hope humanity has left. If she makes it through her defenses, everything that follows will be on your hands.
I mean, he's not wrong. If the world's military and technological superpower falls, then the world is as good as fucked. And it would indeed be the Moronics' fault, specifically RWBY, given that she withheld information that would have been critical to the success of the mission, all the while no one challenging her in any serious way. And keeping Penny away from what safety Atlas can provide means the Maiden powers are at risk of being lost. So he's pretty spot on here. Speaking of the man, we cut to the Aesops paying respects to Clover, and James got a new bitchin' arm. Looks pretty cool in my not-so-humble opinion. Then the council members come walking in and James shoots one of them. The absolute desperation to make James into a villain is so palpable here. What threat do they even pose? Wasn't the point of the election last season to try and overrule James and take away his second seat? That was the reason why he was able to do the things he did, right? So Why shoot the guy? He literally can't do shit. Why not just kill Robin and Crow then? They actually can do something to stop you. I suppose he thinks they might know where Penny is, but still, that leaves Arthur, which leaving him alive is just stupid. You guys took the one character that had any kind of nuance to him, any kind of depth, the one character who was decently written, and now you're trying to make him into a villain. Or at least that's what I'm getting here. And yes, he shot Oscar, but that was built up and he posed far more of a threat than What's-His-Face. He also didn't have his soldiers with him that he could have just locked them away like prisoners. But I guess we can't get the audience to hate him like that. I, however, am not going to fall for it. I stand with Comrade Ironwood. His will and determination will save the world. The fugitives must be brought to justice for the glory of Atlas. And that was the first episode of Volume 8. By RWBY standards, it's fine, I guess. But by normal standards, it's mediocre at best. Not off to a good start.